Hello, friends, and welcome to our webinar titled Thriving in Uncertainty. I'm Lucy, your facilitator for the next hour or so, and I'm delighted to be here. Now, we're all busy, so I don't want to waste any of your time. I am going to jump straight in. So, who am I and why am I talking about this topic? So, I'm Lucy. And I've spent 20 years working within business and organizational design, going from these tiny little businesses or individuals who have got an idea for a business, and I would help them get that idea and form a reality, help them get funded, teach them qualifications in business, and then get them on their way, working within prison systems with marginalized communities. And then this expanded into working with veterans as they left the military on their business goals, and into organizational and leadership design as well, where I found across the lifespan and the size of businesses. So I could be working within a large university structure or multiple university structures. I could be working with NATO or governments or Fortune 500s or running open courses on all things leadership design and soft skill. So my job is to teach the skills, to help coach, to facilitate change and workshops. And I am obsessed with something called regenerative leadership and regenerative design. And this is where we reimagine these systems that we are currently existing in. And we try and create a new system that allows people to thrive. So it is designed for the human who is having a human experience, and it is encouraging high performance by working in harmony with a nervous system and in line with human needs, instead of looking at more extractive approaches, which I'm going to explore a little bit in a minute. And my regenerative leadership approach, it is very much grounded in applied positive psychology, nervous system regulation, and the neuroscience of leadership. So our research and our science is showing us that the traditional way of existing in community, in our systems, in our organizations are unhelpful, and they are extractive. They create burnout, exhaustion, and depletion, which means that from a very cold perspective of an organization, you're not getting any bang for your buck. Whereas with our regenerative approach, we're flipping it and we're working with the human needs and minds, knowing that that will unlock high performance and better outcomes and goal attainment. But more than anything, for you, the individual who is knackered, who is like sick of trying to do everything, hold everything, wear all of the hats, maximize everything, and just be everybody to everything, it is a chance for you to exhale, I'm hoping, and a chance for you to realize that the fault lies within the systems that we exist in. All we can do, if we are one in a power position in charge of a system, this can be a family system, a workplace system, a neighborhood-based system, and we can do so much to make meaningful change, which may feel uncomfortable in the short term, but will have incredible benefits in the long term. So what we're actually looking at is, or beginning with, is how can we, one, ensure that we're not putting blame in the wrong place? So thinking that there is a failing within us for feeling exhausted, where things are plentiful in our environments. We can access more or less anything we want for the majority. Food is everywhere. Most of us have got a roof over our heads. There are things that we can buy at every different level. We can have short breaks and holidays, but many of us are feeling exhausted, even when we can access so much stuff. And why is this? Well, we are existing within a systems thinking extractive culture. And this is how the world has developed, where we just take, take. So a worker goes into an organization and it's like, I will take money, I will take energy, I will take effort, and I will keep taking that until the system breaks. So how much can we take before the system breaks? And within the natural world, you know, we take from the mines, we take from the earth, and we take until an ecosystem collapses. And then we move on to the next thing. We discard what it is and we move on. So within this extractive culture, we are always on as a default. Hustle and self-sacrifice and hyper-independence are celebrated. Success is measured by output and not sustainability. Stress is framed as a personal weakness. Ugh. Individuals are not resilient enough. The focus is on quick fixes, so apps, gyms, mindful lunches. And by the way, I am not against any of those things. They are brilliant, they are necessary and dreamy. Yet they are like putting a plaster onto a massive gaping wound. A gym, a lunch, a 10-minute mindfulness in work, yes, these are brilliant, but they are not going to do much if the system itself is toxic, if there is low psychological safety, if we are working 60 hours a week, whatever that could be. Extractive culture also ignores underlying systems and structures. So what is it that is creating this sense of burnout and overall collapse in people? And it's reactive. We tend to support individuals after burnout or crisis has taken place. We are not proactive in our approach. And then even when we see something happen and we decide to respond, we tend to just fix surface level symptoms and not root causes. So we keep going in the cycle of boom and bust, which reinforces isolation and self-blame. Whereas if we're actually looking at a regenerative systems-based culture, way different. We are prioritizing the human needs and the world's needs as well, first and foremost, because within a regenerative culture, we know that when we prioritize the human experience, working in rhythm with an individual's natural cycles, a byproduct of that is high performance. And the neuroscience reinforces this as well. But what we have to recognize is that it's quite scary for individuals because it feels like a threat to actually leave the extractive culture. And as an organization, it seems very costly to change the approach. Even when we know with regenerative culture, there is such a massive payoff because people are less likely to be burnt out. There's going to be a reduction in absenteeism, presenteeism or resenteeism, and individuals just feel better and therefore are able to give more, become sick less, and thrive. So within a regenerative culture, what we think is how do we create conditions for sustained thriving? They prioritize rest and recovery as essential parts of every cycle. Success is measured by sustainability, not exhaustion. We ask, why is this happening? Not just how do we fix it? Behavior is seen as a response to a context, not purely character. We focus on patterns, environments, and feedback loops. We intervene at the system level. So we try to make change through culture, policies, leadership, whatever that can be. And again, this is in all systems, not just organizations. This is just at home, in our communities, wherever that may be. And then we design our environments proactively, not reactively. So we're thinking of the human experience and human thriving and flourishing as the center of our approaches. This helps us build shared responsibility for well-being because, yes, the system is not 100% responsible for the well-being of everybody within it. It is a two-way street, and we do have to do what we can to thrive within our conditions. We also want to prioritize community, connection, and long-term performance instead of this junk food, quick win approach. We will also develop brain-friendly spaces. Further on from that, if we actually look out and zoom out at the current state of affairs, in Australia, 50% of its workers have experienced burnout in the past year. 3 in 5 Australian workers say AI has made their jobs way more stressful due to the constant adaptation and overwhelm of learning new systems and having so much more stuff available to them. And then there has been a 5x change in organizational change between 2016 to 2022. So in 2016, organizations on average went through 2 change processes a year. This is now, or by 22, this is up to on average 10 change processes a year. And humans are not designed for constant change whatsoever. We like novelty, but consistent change that is unsupported, that leads to collapse. And instead of prioritizing the human, we are prioritizing the outcome or the goal of whatever it could be, the culture, the system, the organization. So the reason I bring some of these statistics is just to highlight that there is no kind of moral failing that we're like, I'm sick of this. I do not want to be within the system. Instead, it's recognizing that the system is like rigged. And it's very hard for us to flourish within this space if we keep approaching it in the same way. So people in a power position, we can talk creatively about how we change the systems for greater thriving, but individuals who are still within it, what I want you to realize is that we have to make some kind of change individually as well to help us and to support us through that journey that we are currently on. It may be that we decide to change our approach to our day-to-day and in reprogramming the nervous system and the mind to find more joy or to improve our problem solving or whatever it could be, then that is enough for us. Or we are able to work in rhythm with our body's needs, and again, that is better for us and we feel better from that. Or maybe we begin to explore these kind of spaces and we realize that we do not like the system we are currently in, and so we swap. And yes, isn't that a glorious outcome? Because our goal is to develop more opportunity for change in self, in structure. Yes. Oh, press the wrong button. Okay. So my last little bit of statistics, and then we're going to jump into some nervous system nerd outs. I picked these statistics on women because there is a disproportionate amount of load that are carried by women within most systems. So Australian women do 32 hours of unpaid work and care a week on average, 9 hours more than men. And when you've got children under 15, this rises up to 47 hours. So we're trying to balance our books as much as we can with very limited time. 91% of Australia is sandwich generation. So these are the people who are caring for elderly parents and also raising children. And this is again exhausting. And 9 in 10 of these individuals show signs of burnout. And the vast majority, so 91% of these individuals are women as well. 17% of women aged between 45 and 64 have taken an extended break from work in the last 5 years, often linked to menopause systems. So I've put this slide in here because I want to, again, just really reinforce the need for us all to take a more regenerative approach to our well-being and how we're feeling. Because one of the things that happens when we are in extractive systems is it forces stress. We're going to cover this, and it pushes us forward. But the more stress we experience, the less we are able to make good decisions, think creatively, have innovative thoughts. And so we kind of get stuck in this downward spiral. If I'm just going to keep going harder, and then one day it's going to get a lot easier and a lot easier, I'm going to feel great. And it doesn't work like that. You have got to change your approach, how you show up, how you see the world, and how you work with your rhythms to find it easier to escape or to change a system. So ladies and chaps, we are doing a lot in a system that isn't entirely helpful. So how can we make a good change? Now, this is why a regenerative leadership comes into place. So regenerative leadership looks at sustainable performance through a human-centered lens. So first, everything is built upon sustainable human performance. How can we lead with clarity, energy, and integrity in all of our roles? Once we have got a solid foundation, we're able to extend that regulated control out to our teams. When we are able to build healthy teams with strong culture, we can foster connection, trust, and high performance. And then we can bake that in organizationally. So how do we create impact without sacrificing well-being? How are we able to build resilient, adaptive organizations that are able to sustain excellence? So you can look at policy. But healthy humans, thriving humans create thriving systems. Thriving systems create thriving humans. So we're going to have a little practice here. So this is an exteroception practice. You do not have to join me if you don't want to, but I encourage you to spend a few minutes using this body-based tool. So first thing I'd like you to do is just sit up in your chair, allow your feet to touch the ground, allow your legs to be held and supported by the chair. And if it's possible, you can rest your back on your chair as well. So you've got a nice, strong, upright posture. Now, what I would like you to do, or what I invite you to do, is if you would like, just to notice, just turn your attention inwards and notice, how are you currently feeling on a scale of 1 to 10? So 1 is you are knackered. You didn't sleep very well. You could nod off very easily. And 10 is you are absolutely like ready to go. You have got 1,000 emails. The fact that I'm asking you to slow down is a bit irritating. You can feel like a lot of mobilized energy within the body. So just notice where you currently are with curiosity or not, and give yourself a rating. Once you've done that, I'm just going to ask you to look straight ahead and then very slowly turn your head to the right. And as you're turning your head, you're going to let your eyes just wander and let them rest upon anything in your environment. And then just notice what's there for a few seconds. Turning your head, scanning the environment, and just noticing what is there. Then we can come back to the center. Again, letting our eyes just linger. That's necessary. Once we're at the center, we're going to go off to the left. Again, letting your eyes rest. You could even say it to yourself. You could say like plant, green, red. Just in your head, you could just be telling yourself what it is that you're seeing. And we come back to the center. We'll just go once more. Really allowing ourselves to take our time to notice. If it is that you want to also bring in things that you can hear, what's the closest sounds to you? And then slowly notice what's furthest away. Both ways. Okay. And back to our center. Now, what I'm going to get you to do now is just raise both our arms. And you're going to want to put them just, you can't really see it. You want them so that they're just off to the side of your eye. Let me see if I can. And then you are just going to keep your looking straight. And then you just go to using the corner of your eyes, look and see if you can notice, head forward, just moving your eyes, your little finger on the right hand side. Keep straight, just using the corner of the eye. See if you can notice all of your fingers one at a time. And bring your eyes back to center. And we're going to go out to the left, head straight, eyes turning. And you see your little finger, ring finger, middle finger, pointer, and thumb. If you need to shake off your arms, feel free. And we're going to allow our vision to settle back at the front. And then I want you to look out of the corners of both eyes and wiggle your fingers and see if you can notice all of your fingers moving. And if your body feels like it wants to yawn, allow it. Put your arms down. If you feel a need for a little tear, then allow that. Notice, is it salty or is it sweet? And then just turn your attention inwards and notice, has the sensation inside you changed? Do you feel lighter, more agitated potentially? Not every exercise is for every person, but I'd like you to go back to that first self-rating score you did and think, has your number changed? If you were really low, do you feel as though there's more energy in your system? Are you about the same, or have you come down if you were very mobilized? Just begin to notice how your body has changed. So what we did there was a lovely grounding technique that looks at bringing bilateral eye movement into a practice which helps the body to regulate and for us to come back into a more present and grounded state. And this is one of the things that we can begin to do to help us work with the body in mind. Because what you see in front of you, here, I'm going to sneeze, excuse me. Bless me. Oh, excuse me, team. I'm sorry for that. I couldn't see the mute, so you all had to listen. What we want to see in front of us, also what we're looking at in front of us, this is called our zone of tolerance, our okay zone, our resilience zone. Now, what I want you to imagine is that every single one of us has got our own zone of tolerance. And we are all designed to be mobilized, to go up with mobilized energy and then come back down into a regulated state. Enter a mobilized state, come back down into a recovery state. This is your nervous system's ability to deal with change effectively and easily. We are sold on the internet calm. We've got to be calm all the time. That is like the pinnacle of success. Are you calm? I would say if you are constantly calm, then you are very brittle, because we are not designed to be calmed as a default always state. We are perfectly designed to be okay mad, okay sad, okay angry, okay elated, okay all of the different emotions, okay? We are designed to tolerate life and be able to come into a regulated state well. So within this zone of tolerance, we are regulated. We are able to get angry and to feel angry, but then quickly come back into a controlled state. We're designed to be able to come back into a really regulated state. So in life, it's about flexibility, not rigidity. If you imagine within extractive systems, it's about rigidity. Keep going 100%, never stop, and we become brittle, and then the system breaks. But when we have got a really lovely resilience zone, then we are all about flexibility and the ability to come back in. So we can see here this example that we have activation and then we have this recovery. So everybody's got different capabilities. So some individuals have got very deep, like okay zones of tolerance. So like this one is fairly deep, but some of us have got shorter ones. So for us, for those who've got a shorter zone of tolerance, what this means is that they can get pushed out of their zone much easier than somebody who has got a deep resilience baseline at this moment in time. And regardless of where we are in life, we can learn the skills to like deepen our zone of tolerance, but also life can make it smaller so we don't have much capacity to deal with life stresses. So if you imagine that all of us are meant to be okay sad, okay mad, okay all of the emotions, and to stay within this zone of tolerance, life happens, and many of us find ourselves in this cycle that we can see in front of us. So what happens here is we get pushed out of what is comfortable. So we hit this bottom, which is called hyperarousal. So in this space, we are depleted, exhausted, low energy, feel like we're walking through mud. Maybe there's a bit of disassociation. We just want to sit and we just want to doom scroll, watch Netflix, do nothing else. And then we'll have all of this energy and lots of energized, mobilized energy in the system. And we come shooting up here out of our zone of tolerance into something called hyper arousal. So this is a high stress state. And we are always on, very high energy. We're probably very reactive. We're thinking 20,000 things at once. We're waking up in the 3 o'clock with 1,000 things to do. We might feel very productive in this state, but it's not sustainable. And then we collapse back down into hypo arousal. Oh, can't do it. I'm exhausted. And then half an hour later, wow, we ricochet back up. So I am sure many of you recognize this ricocheting approach. You might feel like you ricochet across the day, or it might be like you hold a high until the weekend and then you just, you collapse. Now, what we're actually seeing here is extremes of stress and the body's ability to deal with stress effectively. So when we are in this hyper aroused state, very big mobilized stress response, and then this collapse, it's actually something called dorsal vagal. So it is still an extreme stress response, but it's where the body's just gone, no, collapse. And it turns us off instead. We would usually see these big, wild, oscillating extremes through trauma or huge change, moving house, getting a divorce, bereavement, whatever it could be. Yet, so many of us, this is now the default setting. And what we want to be able to do is bring ourselves back into recovery. Because one of the main issues that we have is the system forces dysregulation. But with regulation, there is recovery, always. You cannot sustain prolonged stress. It begins to degrade the body. To be able to navigate stress successfully, there must be recovery. The nervous system must have safety signaled to it so that it is able to literally turn off like the stress response and enter something called your parasympathetic, where it's able to recover. And when it is in the recovery phase, it allows your body to heal itself. It keeps your immune system going very well. It helps your brain to consolidate memory and learning and think creatively. It allows for better sleep so that we are able to do the brain cleaning, consolidate memory effectively. Like the recovery is everything. Yet for most people, the recovery is the thing we put off till the holiday. And by that point, we're already exhausted. So the whole point is when we are working with a regenerative approach, we are prioritizing the needs of the human, and therefore we are prioritizing recovery as a high performance tool, because we appreciate that without recovery, we lose the cognitive capacities and the body-based capacities to think clearly, think well, build good relationships over our body to heal. So having that recovery makes us a real threat because we are so on our stuff. Now, I've put this other slide in for us to have a look so we can see it in a different way. So through a life cycle, we can wake up and we have this activation in our body where we're up and we're mobilized and we're ready to go. And then we come down to a little bit of recovery. And then we're driving the car and there's some useless drivers and we have more activation in the system. And then we come back down and we are okay. And then we get to emails, more activation. We come back down. And then we just begin to go out of our zone of tolerance because we've been going on this upward spiral and there's a bit of anxiety that we are feeling, but we're able to manage it. We have the tools to manage it so we come back into regulation. And we have these peaks and troughs and then we get angry at something. But instead of staying out and over the top, we have the tools to be able to come back into our zone of tolerance. And then we can see the more rested we are able to have digestion, relaxation. But then we also will experience things like sadness and loneliness as collapsed, low energy, low mobilized states, which again, they deplete the system. We're trying to keep us within this lovely zone of tolerance. So if we come back up, we might enter rest and then we go off into sleep. So that's a way of being able to see like the flexibility that we want. We want to be mad, sad, happy, elated, but still within a safe zone. And if we get pushed out of our zones at the top or the bottom, where our goal is to be able to learn the skills to be able to bring us very quickly to ourselves. And we could say that this is repatterning a nervous system. This is being able to work with the brain in mind. And it is so important for all systems, okay? Because it doesn't matter where you exist. You are always existing in groups of other people, and every human has a nervous system, and all nervous systems need to be able to recover well so that they can perform well, so that the body can operate effectively. So if our approach is just to hustle, 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 we're going to have so much overwhelm, where we then have groups and systems of people who are not able to recover, who are fatigued, who are firing at 2%, and they are more reactive. They find it easier to get to irritation, anxiety, anger, sadness, loneliness, than recovery, which complicates everything in life for us. So the regenerative approach is thinking, what do we do to encourage a big zone of tolerance or an okay zone, and to help people flex through that easily? So it's for an individual, it's for a team, it's for a family, it's for anybody or a group of nervous systems. Now, the first thing we want to remember is that it is possible to begin to like deepen that zone of tolerance and to learn the skills and the flexibility to be able to get upset and come back to ourselves really quickly. We could spend days and days and days on it. I track it with HRV. That's a very easy way. So if anybody wants to discuss that, drop me a message. Always happy to chat about it. And I can see how well my nervous system is tolerating life stresses at that point in time, and then change my approach accordingly. But then you can also work and live with the brain in mind. Again, we could spend days on that, but I'm going to try and give you a couple of tools to help you on your regenerative, joy-based journey. If we are going through constant change and reactivity, we need to be regulated so that we can make good decisions, we are less likely to get sick, and we come home to ourselves much easier. If we take an extractive system into this constant reactive, high change spaces, then we're going to just see more breakdowns, because people are not given the capacity to heal and be well. And then we get stuck in our stress cycle and it becomes the normal. We'll have a trigger, an email, a deadline, screaming kids, whatever it could be, which will activate the stress response. So cortisol and adrenaline will rise. We're not able to deplete this. So we have an incomplete discharge because we're not able to get up, move our bodies, take some time for ourselves. So we stick that stress in the system, and then we have something called residual load. So the activation stays in the body and it kind of stacks onto the next trigger. So maybe we're more like primed for stress and anxiety instead. And that's just a reality for so many of us when we believe that we have to prioritize everything external instead of what is internal. Because if we begin by prioritizing ourselves first, that changes the condition. It changes the shape of our nervous system, how we see the world, how we take in information. And that then changes the environment from which we are perceived. So we are then able to give the gift of regulation, higher thought, creativity, more joy to anybody who comes into our orbit. We're then better able to design policy, structures, teams who are able to also participate in a healthy system. So the best place to start is recovery, allowing yourself to recover as you need it, not when you think you deserve it. Okay, so if you imagine that everything that we learn within this space can be put or compared to an earthquake-proof house. So earthquake-proof houses, they have these really strong foundations that are designed to flex with the tremors, and they keep everything in place and pretty solid. So these foundations need to be our non-negotiables as well. So good diets, sleep, movement, relaxation, joy as much as we can. Imagine by prioritizing these things and seeing them as a priority for self, teams, children, family, others, then we are creating the conditions for thriving. When we are stressed, we tend to let those things go because the brain is tricking us into thinking that it must prioritize what it thinks is the biggest stressor. So that could be the email that is unanswered, the child that's screaming. And so we will stop doing the things that we need to be nourished because we think, I've got to survive this next act. And so we'll eat the junk food instead. We won't move our bodies. The sleep will go down the pan because we'll be doom scrolling. And then we might do a relaxation class once a month. And we think that that's it. That is stress narrowing us into the problem. But when it does that, that level of stress turns off our capacity to make a good decision, so we can get stuck in the stress. So I invite you to really try to prioritize yourself and your foundation as much as you can, because that is going to open everything up like a flower, basically, so you can absorb more light and you can do more and grow more and you can be more. And then within our earthquake-proof house, we have got that rod that goes through the middle of the building. And that when we have a really big shake, the foundations are going to keep us open. That earthquake-proof rod is what is going to keep the building standing. And these are things like emergency tools that we can have. So this is co-regulating with good friends. This is breath work, meditation, ice baths, whatever it could be. These are emergency tools that we pull on in a moment of high pressure and high stress, a cognitive tool perhaps, a mental who can help us, whatever it may be, we pull on that in the moment to help us. So just imagine earthquake hits, we have change, stress, challenge, the house shakes. And our goal is to be able to stay grounded and to find joy within that. We do that with our strong foundations and then our emergency toolkits too. Again, I'd love to unpack every single one of these, but we don't have long. So, and again, by the way, what I'm not trying to do is say, you've got to fix everything within your system. Like you've got to carry the weight in it all. Absolutely not. As I said before, if you are in a power position, get excited about all of the positive change you can make within your systems so that they are healthier, thriving spaces for people. And as an individual, what we want is a quick fix. We want somebody to say, do this and you'll get that. That's why we see manifestation experts on the internet who promise you that you will escape everything in a moment. And so we're like, yes, please, we want a quick fix. Now, we can change our output, our view of the world in moments, but we need to be able to sustain that over time, and change does take time. Therefore, I'm inviting you and encouraging you to be like, I have got to take a stand in my well-being because the system isn't going to change whatsoever. I can either exit a system or I can begin to develop the inner skills that I need to be able to resource me and nourish me through this time, because I don't want to exchange my health and my well-being for whatever it could be. So I'm inviting you to develop some skills so you can find more joy, more resilience, and more well-being and contentment regardless of the system we are in. I don't want to spend too long on this because we kind of covered it. So this is, Google it, Lisa Feldman's body budget. And it's this idea that we are like a battery. Everything that we do has either adds to our system or depletes from it. Imagine we're a battery. If I'm energized, then I can make choiceful choices and feel that they are good. I'm regulated. I do things from a really grounded perspective instead of a fear-based perspective. And this energized state can only be accessed if I am adding into my body budget. So I'm paying into my bank, I'm filling up my battery with good sleep, nourishment, movement, connection, those kind of things. And then the things that deplete are, good whole foods, junk food, good movement, no movement, learning how to have difficult conversations, staying quiet when I'm really pissed off, whatever it could be. They're all going to kind of take from the system. So our job is to try and look at our days, look at our lives and think, what am I doing to add energy to the battery or to, could deposit something really helpful into this account. Because when your budget is well spent, you feel capable, connected, and like you have choice. Your body and your brain is working with you, not against you. When your budget is depleted, you begin to feel irritable, foggy, or overwhelmed as your body is like literally losing resources and is more stressed. And when your budget is overdrawn, you can begin to feel really shut down, numb, or disconnected as you enter an exhausted, collapsed state. You can't control everything that happens, but you can learn to manage your body budgets, notice where your resources go, and invest in what restores you. So one of the things that we can do to begin to actually notice what is helping us and what is hindering us is to think about the boat and water levels. So staying afloat. If you imagine that you are sailing the seven seas, you are having to get to a gorgeous island. But you got to send yourself there, right? Your job is to get there without crashing into the rocks below the waterline. Imagine that you have got downwards arrows that are pushing your water level down, pushing you closer to the rocks. And your water level is actually your level of resilience. And you need to be able to keep your levels up so that you don't crash into the rocks below. I would like you to think of, and jot this down, write this down, what down arrows are currently existing in your life? What is pushing your resilience down? Is it over exercising? Is it a really awful boss? Is it money worries? Is it poor quality food? Have you not moved in a little while? Is it loneliness? Is it the fact that there's no good coffee at work? Is it kids keeping you awake? Look at me, tired. Whatever that could be, just write it down. Like, what is pushing your arrows down towards those rocks? And once you've done it, by the way, this is great for families, for organizations. It's a really easy shared language that you can have in a group setting. So you could have what is pushing our team water levels down. And then once we've done that, what we can think about is, right, can I get rid of any of these things? So maybe you're like just drinking way more than you would usually and you're feeling knackered. Okay, so can that get put down? Maybe it's work. There's lots and lots of work on at the moment. Okay, so you can't put that down. But is there a time scale for when it's meant to be finished that you can work towards, whatever that could be? I then would like you to think that you also have up arrows. And these up arrows are pushing the water level up and they're keeping you away from the rocks below. What keeps your water high? And here we have put, keep in mind your SSRIs. So those are, oh gosh, I can't remember, basically antidepressants. What we know is that if we can change lots about your lifestyle, then within 3 months it has it's good an impact on your well-being and mental health as an antidepressant. So what we're saying here is if we can really think about your up arrows as antidepressants, then that's so powerful because we can access these strategies, these sources, these resources, and these insights really easily. So just think about these up arrows. What strategies have helped you in the past? What sources do you have? So a source could be a poem or a book or something that gives you strength when you read it. What resources do you have? Good friendship groups? Do you live next to an environment that you're allowed to go and walk or find joy or whatever it could be? Are there insights others have shared with you? Whatever it could be, write it down. Think about these up arrows. How often are you accessing them? We want to get as many up arrows as we can. So good quality exercise, learning new skills, by figuring out more about how humans work, whatever it could be. All of those are going to be really supporting education that's going to improve and push up your water level. So think, what do you need as an up arrow? What's missing potentially? And then you can make a plan. Now, beware, friends. Oh, wrong button. The octopus. So this is when we sabotage ourselves. So sometimes we are trying to survive, get through things, thrive, and we take actions which don't serve us. This could be exercising loads and loads of high intense activity when I'm already stressed. And that's perpetuating the stress. So I'm doing loads of high intense activity, then I'm going to bed, it's impacting my sleep quality, like, ugh. Okay, well, how can I swap that up? Maybe I can exercise with a HIIT in the morning. That's going to help my brain prepare for the day, and I'll do like something else in the evening. Or it could be something such as having a drink. You have a drink every day because it makes you feel good. But actually, it ruins your sleep, and then the next day you're grotty. And so if you think about it, it's not really the drink, it's the ritual of being calm that you like, and that like signaling to your body, like, tick, we're done for the day, that you actually want. So how can you look for your self-sabotaging arrows and change them? Now, the Boast on Water Levels is a lovely introductory tool to help us get a snapshot of what's going on for us, because knowledge is power. And what we're trying to do is learn a few things so that we are able to put things down in the future. Learn to have deeper resilience, have those harder conversations, whatever it could be. So give that a go and try it. Excuse me. I'm so sorry. It's in my hair. The next thing I wanted to introduce you to was something called a Wild Meadows Framework. This came off the back of my master's research, where we were looking at how we can develop better well-being in people and groups in high pressure in isolated areas, using something called ABMT, so attention bias modification training. So if I can get you to notice more positive in your environment, then you are going to have you're going to train your brain and prime your brain to see more positive in your environment. And this has a knock-on impact on our health, our cognitive capacity, and our overall well-being. So I'm going to tell you a story. I want you to imagine that your brain is mind is an untended meadow full of weeds. These weeds are something called your negativity bias, and you're born with them, okay? They're always in the field, they're always there. And some of us have got loads and loads of weeds, and some of us not as many. But they're all negativity bias, so our brain's ability to notice negative stimuli in an environment over positive, okay? Now, what you want to do is take this field of weeds and turn it into a wildflower meadow. So what you do is you plant the seeds, and these seeds, these flower seeds, are looking for a positive experience in your day-to-day, and very minute, like boring, small, enjoying your coffee, noticing a life pattern on the floor, looking at a tree and listening to the swish, 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 whatever it could be, but noticing things in your environment throughout the day and being like, oh, that's amazing. I like that. It's good. Way better if you pick small, seemingly inconsequential things than the big, shiny, hedonic pleasures. So do that as much as you can. And then what is going to happen is, over time, every day you're going to come in, you're going to water those seeds that you planted. So you're going to keep training your brain to have a look and challenge yourself to find 3 or 5 things a day that feel really good to explore and to look at. And over time, you will not have to remind yourself to water the flowers. You'll just do it naturally. And the flowers will be getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And this is your positivity bias. The more you train your brain to find positive in an environment, the more it actually finds. And the more it trains and primes your brain to find more positive stimuli to support your prediction that there's going to be good things in your world. So before you know it, you've got a whole wildflower meadow that you don't have to remember to water. You just do it instinctively. And it's not that the weeds have disappeared, by the way. The weeds are still there, but the flowers have grown over them and like blocked out the light. So they have thinned out and they're just not so big anymore. And we are able, even when a weed, we stand on one and it's kind of prickles our feet, we find it much easier to be able to like, oh, that's okay, and turn our attention to something that is more beneficial. So this is the wildflower meadows, how we prime a brain. And what's actually happening is we're training our brain to find more positive in our environment than negative. And this is literally creating new pathways within the brain. So imagine that that wildflower meadow, it's a bumpy road. So when you're trying to learn or train your brain to do something new, it's as though you're on like a bumpy dirt track. There's nothing there. And it's hard and it takes effort and you're bumping all over the place. But then with repetition, it becomes like it smooths out. It becomes like a country lane, like a smooth, like single track thing. But, you know, you're getting quicker, you can get there. And then the more you do it, you know, you put an extra lane in it and it gets bigger and wider and more frictionless. And then before you know, it's a motorway. And you can get from A to B really, really quickly. And that's the same with when we train the brain to find something. It's hard, it's challenging at first, but the more effort we put in, the more we try it, the faster it becomes, the more we just train our brain to do these things subconsciously, and it becomes integrated into us. So Wildflower Meadow is a wonderful tool to help us individually develop a positivity bias. And the more positivity bias we develop, the greater regulation we give to our system. Because if we're feeling good, that means our body and our brain is in a relaxed state as well, which means that it's in the zone of tolerance. So it's able to recover, it's able to use the brain and to have safety. So we can also access people in a more open and curious way instead of like, oh, not them again, this is awful, whatever it could be. So it seems small and it seems patronizing too, like just go and think positively, find nice things. But it sounds like ridiculous, but truly, no, it's not going to fix everything, but it makes life so much easier and more enjoyable and more pleasant when we prioritize finding joy and entering this upward spiral is what it's called. You know, the more joy I can find, the more I train my brain to find it. And because your brain is going to be doing something, it is better that we train it to find the good stuff than to, oh my God, I can't pay my bills. Oh my God, I can't do X, Y, Z. Oh my God, work is hard. And again, we're training the brain to find issues, problems, and challenges. So from the individual, let's play that game. How many times are you able to find something positive a day? And then savor it. So savor is when we amplify a positive experience. So it's not that we just want to notice it. Oh, that was nice. We want to feel it as well. And this is what we have to do for positive neuroplasticity to make change, to take place. So positive neuroplasticity is actually creating structural change that we find more joy. So how would we do that? Is we would just literally sit, notice what it is in our environment, and then be like, oh, how does that feel? If you're happy and comfortable to you can notice how that feels in your body. Is there a lightness in your chest? Do you feel like a release and a letting go? Maybe you have the desire to have like a little tear, and that's healthy and well and excellent, whatever it could be. But by actively allowing yourself to feel the experience, you will begin to make real change, neuroplastic change. And Rick Hanson, he also did lots of work in this. Now it can help us have better subjective well-being, which means we're thinking better, help us process trauma, all of that thing. So give it a go. Oh, this is an old slide. Sorry. What I'd like you to do is notice and genuinely savor 3 to 5 positive moments each day. We want tiny micro moments that would usually be overlooked. It might be that you notice a problem that you have solved and you allow yourself to sit with it for 5 to 10 seconds, whatever it could be. But imagine that you're amplifying the positive sensation too. Imagine you are able to turn up how good it feels, and to imagine that that lovely feeling is like all over your body and you can really feel that joy. Do that for 5 to 10 seconds, and you are beginning to also train our reticular activating system, or RAS. This is a part of the brain that filters reality for us. And what we will do is we will actually train that part of the brain to hunt out and find things to make us feel good. And that helps us access that recovery state I discussed earlier on, called the ventral vagal state. Okay, I'm going to move past this because maybe we'll have a quick look. One of the reasons that I'm so big at finding joy wherever I can and not needing something external is that within any system, I need to be able to find joy internally to help me. And the more I can create this positive experience, then the safer teams perform. If I work within a group of people, the stronger my relationships can be, the broader my thinking, I'll have better decision making, stronger relationships, and I'm better able to regulate myself. If I am stuck in stress, I am reactive. I am in a stress response. Positive emotion is a regulated state, so I'm able to access my brain effectively. And not only that, but with more positive effects, I'll have better problem solving. I can integrate new information, better lateral thinking. I'm able to solidify human connections and make new connections with others. I'll have better heart health, cardiovascular health, stronger bones, greater immune system functions, and then my psychological resources, greater resilience and optimism. And that is amazing. Even within trauma training, what we actually look at is how we are able to find this strength story within traumatic experience so that we can prime the brain to see situations differently. Okay, so team, what do I want to add at this point? I'm hoping that I've been able to give you a general overview of what it is to be in an extractive system and how we're fighting to have this regenerative approach that comes from you, where you are able to recognize your natural rhythms, recognize the things that push you out of your zone of tolerance and the things that bring you into greater recovery. The fact that you have to slow down. We must prioritize recovery so that we can do more and be more. So for self, it is not selfish. It is more selfish not to recover and not to prioritize that, because everybody else has to deal with the fallout of that stress. So systems and individuals within the systems, your job is to think about how we can change structurally the systems and the support for thriving. Individuals, prioritize what you can. Hunt joy as much of it as you can. This small stuff is the stuff that will make change, and allow yourself to feel it. This is literally beginning to repattern your nervous system for greater regulation and to help your brain be more effective. Is this a bloody, what's to say? Like, is this it? Is this the answer? No, it's not. But it's hopefully for an hour workshop, it's a couple of things to help us get going in the first place. Now, I don't want you to think about, oh, Lucy, you told me to pick up so many things. I invite you instead to think about, what can you put down? Imagine that you are in your home and you want to buy new things, but you've made this agreement that you have to take something out and get rid of something before you can bring something new in. You could do the same for yourself with an audit. What can you put down before you pick something back up to replace it with. So you could put down the belief that busy equals worthy. You could put down a commitment that drains you more than it gives you anything. You can try and put down guilt about resting before you're depleted, and I hope I've shown why it's so important to do that. You could put down perfection. The bar is, needs to be good enough, not perfect. There are many you could put down, alcohol is a coping mechanism, isolation, not seeing your friends, and you could pick up time with these good buddies. Doing something that has got no benefit apart from you enjoy it is an awesome one. A 2-minute check-in with your own body. How is it feeling? Do that extra section tool that we discussed at the beginning. You could do a boundary, but in a boundary that is stated plainly without over-explaining. Yeah, no, but basically. Maybe you could pick up a deliberate moment of enjoyment, like forcing yourself to do it, getting it as a game with your friends, and try to notice what is already feeling good for you and amplify that feeling. Okay, team. And then as you look at change you would like to make, pick 2 things, not 10. Don't try and audit everything in your life at once, thinking about how can I stay in my zone of tolerance, my okay zone, what's knocking me out. Just think about 2 things that you could change. Maybe it's that you want to focus on a good sleep cycle, or you want to go and have a conversation about breaks at work, or just needing time to not do all the jobs at home, whatever it could be. Think, I'm going to work on 2 things at a time, because your body doesn't like change very much. It struggles with it. And so when we try and change everything all at once, we can't sustain it. And then we collapse, and then we feel guilty that we couldn't do it and that there's something wrong with us, and we want to give up a little bit. Therefore, work with your brain and mind and pick 1 or 2 things that you would like to add in to change, and practice that for 3 months, or until it feels habituated, automated. After that point, pick up something else. Because the reality is, friends, that we don't have to earn our rest to deserve it. Thank you so much for joining me today. If any of you would like to have a chat with me to discuss these, there's so much we could have discussed, and there's so much we could what we do take into organizations. We can discuss it in terms of parenting, relationship, friendships, communities. And it spreads off into 1,000 different things that we could learn and enjoy. So I've just had to give you an overview, but if you want to talk about it anymore, scan this code and you will be able to book into my calendar and have a lovely chat with me. A free 30-minute chat, more than welcome to. But I would like you to get a fire in your belly that if we continue in the same systems, then we know the outcome. So, and the world is changing really rapidly. So the individuals and the systems that are going to survive and thrive in the future are the ones that prioritize the human experience, are the ones that work with a nervous system in mind, that builds connection and joy. Sometimes we have to slow down to speed up. And I'm excited about what the world could be if we all got on the bus to do those things. So book in, have a call, or you can find me across socials, take a photo here, get in touch with me. I would love to have a conversation. But friends, thank you so much for your time. I have really appreciated being able to do this with you. And I will hopefully speak to you very soon.